All right. Says we are live, so I'm going to trust it. Welcome to the, let's see if I can say this, Trello Trailblazers Team 25 Trello recap. Now say that 5 times fast.
Whew, I know. I saw your promo with that, Kelly, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can say that 5 times fast." And I talk fast, so yeah, no, that's ambitious.
You know, to be fair, that one was recorded. That was not the first take that time. So this was the one I was like, oh, am I going to get it out? I got it out. Okay, awesome. So we are here with Britt and Mike. I want to just kind of dive right into this because I was not able to go to Team Live and I was able to watch a lot of it virtually, which I'm guessing a lot of the people watching this are in the same boat. And that's why you're here, because you want to hear all the Trello stuff. And if you were watching live, there wasn't a whole lot of Trello stuff to like make us happy, except for TrelloCon, which was amazing. And I loved that. I was so bummed I had to drop early on that one, but I caught all the great stuff and it was super fun. So
and
this
you
is
stuck
kind of
with
like
us through the audio issues. So
I did.
Major props to you. Like
I did.
You unfortunately had to stick through the worst 15 minutes of the whole 2-hour bit.
You know what? I've been there, done that myself, so I understand. I totally empathize. And I wanted to get to the good stuff, so I was going to wait around for that. I wasn't going anywhere. So anyway, so if you guys are in the chat, hi, I'm seeing a bunch of people already. That's awesome. Ask your questions. We will make sure to pose them to Mike and Britt. They will see them as well because they're over on the YouTube chat. So if it's a quick answer, they'll just answer you. Otherwise, we'll do an actual answer here. But I'm going to kick it off with the first question just because I can, because I'm hosting. So what I want to ask is, you guys have talked a few times about the Trello booth. And since we don't get to see any of that if we're not there on the floor, I'm imagining this, magical place of unicorns and rainbows where everybody talks about how much they love Trello, but that might not be what it looks like. So I would like to hear, like, what is the Trello booth all about? Is it like a support desk kind of thing? Is it a place to meet with some of the product team? Like, what is it? And why is it amazing?
Well, I'll start by saying it is this magical place with lots of cuddly toys and fluffy dogs, and everyone's happy and dancing around. It is amazing. The reality was, it was right at the far end of the conference center. Nice. And it was freezing cold.
I've got a picture here for anyone watching. I'll just watch my camera. I'll just flow through some pictures from the booth. But keep talking, Mike. I'll give visuals for what you got.
But it gave me an idea. Maybe we should just set a camera up there next time round. And just
we should. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like a 24/7 live stream of the Trello.
Live stream the booth. Yes, please. Yes. For those of us who are craving it. Yes.
Yeah,
you were saying, Mike, that it was cold over there?
Oh, it was so cold. The whole conference center was cold. But like the Trello bit was about as far. The good thing about the Trello booth is it was really close to the food and drink. So 2 things, that meant you could always get food and drink, and secondly, it meant there was quite a lot of thoroughfare. So people were kind of, even if they didn't really know what Trello was, they would stop, mostly because they wanted a taco, but they would also stop and talk and actually want to hear about Trello. But it was actually, there was a lot of buzz around the Trello booth, which wasn't huge. It's kind of 2 tables with a central pillar. But there was a lot of people coming. There's a lot of people excited about the new features and the new Trello for individual productivity. And a lot of people who use other Atlassian tools getting excited about the idea that they can now see Trello as a potential tool that they can use on top of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that I noticed this year and also last year at Team, well, in the year before even, that booth is packed. There, like there are always people there. It's so funny to me how there's always someone at the Trello booth. Like Mike and I can attest. Like sometimes we may just want to stand there for 5 minutes and try to talk to like some of the product team and ask them stuff, but there's always people coming up to it. And it's just so funny to me how little attention Trello gets sometimes in the Atlassian ecosystem and in like keynotes and things like that, for the fact that literally there's always someone coming by the booth and they're saying, I love Trello, I use it for this, or we didn't get it as much this year because I think Atlassian's working on positioning, but last year and everybody came up and said, I already use Jira, why should I use Trello? And different sort of things like that. And so it was just absolutely insane to me that like there's never like a sitting around and quiet. Like people are always coming up to the booth, and yeah, some of it is I think they always want like a taco plushie, but like you can very quickly spot out the people who are just coming for swag and who actually want to talk, and like, you become a pro at that. And so there's a lot of people that actually do still just want to talk Trello and understand, like, either share their story of how they used it for this, or how they are trying to figure out how to use it for this, or like, we actually had a couple people really want to see like some of the new features that were coming out and asking like how to use that, or they'd heard Mike and I talking about like email for Trello and different sort of power ups and things, and they wanted to see, well, how do those work? Like, could I use that? Like, I use Jira for tickets. Could I use Trello for handling like communications and project management around those sort of stuff, or like even just communicating with tickets, like users and tickets. Like, Jira is where people are doing the work, but Trello is where we're organizing like what is happening and communicating who with who. And yeah, there was just tons of questions and all sorts of stuff. And in the bits when we weren't doing that, which, I mean, admittedly it was most of the time, it is a really buzzing space to just get that feedback from the Trello product team. And I asked my newsletter subscribers, I said, hey, send me your feedback, because I'm going to be spending time with the team. Ask me your questions and I'm going to share it and ask. And I literally, you can ask Mike and everybody at the booth. I had a list on my phone. I was like, Trello cards specifically. And I was like, okay, here's one from someone, and get an answer. And I compiled that and organized it. And they're just so excited to hear feedback and hear what people are wanting, and know that doesn't mean they can build all of it, but they want to hear it, and they want to update, and they want feedback, and they want to answer questions, and they really want to connect with more people. Like, it's a shame we can't do like some sort of road tour with them where we go around to different cities, and like everybody would have to come to Anaheim. So yeah, that's
I'll host something up here in Boise anytime.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We can absolutely do that. No, I mean, I totally get it. And I think I get it even from their side as well, because, look, we all love Trello, but when a company or when a product like that is brought into a bigger company and is not where it originated, which is what happened with Trello, there can be a little bit of that redheaded stepchild kind of feel for that team. And so I'm sure the more that they get all this buzz and feedback and all these ideas, they can show leadership like, hey, people want this. This is not, we're not pushing this. Our customers are pushing this. So, give us a little more capital, or give us a little more space, or, whatever it is that they need. So, I think it's as good for them as it is for us. But man, I would have been 24/7 at that booth if I'd been
Well, that's pretty much what we do. I bounce around because I have a lot of friends in community. And so I bounce around between the community booth as well. And I wanted to collect some stickers for a special thing I offer my premium subscribers who are based in the US that give me their mailing address. I'll mail them stickers from the conference, because I know a lot of us like really can't go. Like, honestly, I've only started being able to go the last couple of years because of my community leader benefit that pays for a bunch of the costs, and then Power Ups, who will help sponsor some of my additional costs, because I have to take a week off of work. I'm paying my travel out there. Like, it's not like everybody else there, I feel like, gets paid to go as part of their job. And so anyways, I know that a lot of Trello users are in my boat and unable to go. And so it really, like, I'll spend probably 75% of my time at the Trello booth, and then the other time I'm like bouncing around to community and talking to my friends over there at their booth, and also trying to kind of do the little crawl around to see like what else is going on and get the stickers. And like, I didn't even get to try the F1 simulation driving thing. Like, that's how much I love Trello. I wanted to stay at the Trello booth more than go stand in line for the F1 simulator. So
yeah, I think I was the same. I on the time when I wasn't speaking to people, and it was weird because there's quite a lot of people come up and assume that we work for Atlassian, and they just talk to us as we're sort of Trello employees, and they don't realise that we're just there because we love it, which makes us a bit weird, I think. But
yes.
in the time that wasn't happening, my most enjoyable time was having chats with the Jordan and Erica, the product marketing managers, or Lex, the designer, who's so unbelievably excited and passionate about what he's doing. He's got millions and millions of ideas. He's got data coming out of his ears, and he's really truly listening to what people want and wanting to change it and make it better. So that was way more interesting and fun for me. And I think that the booth in general is more buoyant and active than some of the others, because it's less like people have gone there. It's like a break from what they're used to. So there's a lot of salesy booths there that they try and do really cool things, like have really nice swag and stuff like that. But they're there to push something. And then the other Atlassian tools are pretty kind of corporate and dry. Trello just offers something different. And it definitely feels like people are coming there. And I've always said about like closet Trello fans. You get a lot of them coming to the booth, and they're like, "Oh, well, our company uses Jira, but we really love Trello, or we want to use Trello, or I use Trello for private things." And yeah, so you get a lot of that. It's like people are sneaking off to go and find out about Trello.
I love that. See, but we have to change that perception, right? Because it's not this, what is it, guilty pleasure. It is a powerful tool, I think. And I think, the more that people don't have to feel like they're sneaking off to the Trello booth. It's not, it's not this or that. We were just talking about this before we went live. You can use all these tools and they all have their own purposes. And so I think, let's change that perception. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alicia, I see we have a question. Let me, okay. I'm not great at using StreamYard yet. There we go. That's how I do it. Okay.
The classic. Did we get a mention of Trello in the keynote? Womp womp.
There was one logo.
There was one logo. I was going to say, Kelly actually saw the keynote. Full disclosure, I found out about an hour before, or no, I found out the night before that we were not going to be in the keynote. I didn't even go to the keynote. I was like, they're going to talk about Rovo, and all of my friends are going to post on social media immediately about all of the Jira things that I don't necessarily care about that are exciting. So cool. I didn't even go, but yes, I heard from Kelly there was a logo, and I want to say someone else told me they maybe saw Trello like hidden in a screenshot, like in like one of the little animation segments where it goes through like doopy 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 doo. There was like a board or a card or something.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, unfortunately, no.
By accident.
It was probably on accident, or maybe we have an evangelist in the company that shoved it in there. They're like, hey, let's see if anyone notices. No, I mean, I watched the whole thing because
little Easter egg. Yeah,
a little Easter egg. I watched the whole thing because I feel like, and I'm hoping, maybe this is hope against hope, but seeing all of the, Rovo for Jira, $0, Rovo for Confluence, $0, I'm like, Rovo for Trello, $0? That would be awesome. Right. So I just want to be aware of what they're working on, because some of it could trickle down. And so I'm excited to see what's possible and what could be coming down the line. Plus, you can't start bugging them and ask for it if you don't know it exists. So, but if I was there, I'm not sure I would have gone and sat through the keynote. You know what I mean? It's like a on in the background and oh, that sounds interesting kind of situation. So,
oh, for sure. Well, and what I found super interesting, and Mike, you can tell me if you agree with this too, like, you don't get that energy from the keynote, but I very much did get that energy from sitting at the Trello booth. Like, they have tons of ideas about how they want to incorporate AI. And they also were talking about wanting, like, Rovo to be in part of Trello and things like that. And so I understand, like, to some extent, we're probably getting some sort of privileged information that I'm trying to be careful about how I share. But also, like, I think they would be okay with me saying, yeah, they are thinking through that sort of stuff. Not so okay with giving it away in a keynote that's, whatever like that. And so another reason why I like standing by at the Trello booth, like, they're very candid and forthcoming with things, and like happy to share what they're thinking about stuff, but also like the rigmarole to get included in a keynote is going to be a whole different nightmare. So I got my Trello fill at the booth. I didn't need it from the keynotes, and I'm so sorry, Alicia. We wish you were there, and we would have planted you at the Trello booth, and you would have gotten your full. You wouldn't have gone to the keynote, but you wouldn't have been sad about it. You'd have been, having all the Trello love at the booth.
I think also with the keynote, it's they do pretty much give off information that, like, whether they should or not, everyone knows already. So like all the Rovo stuff, people kind of predicted all of that was going to be the kind of general theme. So again, being at the Trello booth, we were able to learn a lot more about what's coming for Trello. We're learning about the future of Trello being there more than we would at the keynote, and they are interlinked. I mean, like, Trello is a part of Atlassian, so they are going to leverage what's good of Atlassian, and I'd be surprised in the sort of near or long term if Rovo isn't something that's considered for Trello. But yeah, you can get so much more out of kind of just, especially because it's a bit of a quieter period at the booth at that time, that you can then spend some time talking to the developers that are there and to the product marketing team, and get their perception of it, because they have a different sort of view of Trello than we do. And that's probably why they like us, because we have a view from the user's perspective, but they have a different view. And it's really good to come together and actually learn a lot from them, and they can kind of learn from us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes total sense. We got another question from Alicia. Let's see. Do you think the new look of Trello wants to look like Jira? That's a good question. We were actually kind of talking about that before we got on live.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no on the basis of the conversations I had with the design team during the summer last year, where they showed 2 side-by-side mock-ups of some new Trello designs, and one was distinctly Atlassian and one was distinctly Trello-y. I think that's the technical term for it. And I think the general consensus was to move towards the Trello-y and keep Trello as having its own style. And although the side-by-side thing is coming along, I think the card backs long overdue an overhaul anyway, and that does just clean things up. But it's certainly Trello. If you look at Trello compared to Jira and the other Atlassian tools now, they're vastly different in visual design, and Trello is so much nicer and cleaner and simpler.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that they don't want the new look of Trello to look like Jira, because I love the way that Trello looks and works.
No, I don't think they are. I think they did try that sort of approach with Jira Work Management, and I think they saw that it failed, for better or worse. It didn't really do much for Jira users, and it didn't really do much for Trello users, and it definitely didn't do much for Mike. But I think Mike's out here like protesting all things. But yeah, I think actually now what they're very much trying to lean into is not Trello is Jira Lite. Almost more than I wish they would lean into it. Like in our interview with Gaurav, like it was, I don't know if anyone saw, I'll post a link to it. The Jira Life shared it, where we did an interview with Gaurav, and Gaurav basically says, if you want to use project management, don't use Trello, use Jira. And he said it live, and you can just kind of see me cringing like, oh, well, you still kind of can. Actually, I think it's not bad for that. But anyways, so that's their official stance on it. So I definitely think you can still use Trello for project management. I sure as heck will. I'm not moving over all of my things to Jira that I organize. But that being said, that gave me confidence that Atlassian's perspective is they are different tools. We're not going to try to accomplish the same thing with them. Trello is fun, personal productivity. Jira is business, business, business. That's their official slogan, I think.
Yeah, with that same,
yes, business, yeah. business, exactly. Yes, yeah. So, they'll be getting me to do ads for that any day now. But I think, yeah, that gave me a lot of confidence, for better or worse. There's parts I like about Atlassian kind of deciding they're very different things, and then there's parts I don't love about that. Like I said, I think I have spent most of my life trying to give the message Trello is not a toy. And I feel like this kind of gives the Trello's a toy, but we all need toys. Like, it doesn't, it's not so much that it cheapens it or weakens it, but it kind of feels like it moves more towards that direction than I'd like it to. But if that's what it needs to stay alive, attract more users, and, be able to fit into that ecosystem with Atlassian and get the love it needs for getting development, I'll take it. I don't think anything they're doing hurts what we're doing for project management or collaboration. Like Mike and I chatted a lot about this, that like, yeah, maybe they're not going to invest more in those features, but they're not taking anything away that seems to be hurting how we can use it for project management. And yeah, they're going to tell you to use Jira, and they're going to spam Mike with ads to go to Jira. Just Mike. I've never one time gotten these ads. I think they know better. I don't know why they haven't figured it out with Mike yet. But
I get them. You
get them? Okay.
But I just X out of them every time. And every time I get on a client call and they have the ad, I'm like, oh, you could just X right out of that. You don't need
that. Exactly.
You don't need that.
Exactly. And yeah. I think it makes me kind of sad that it's like the idea of, I do believe there is a time when you outgrow Trello. For the record, I do believe there is a time that you look at it and you're like, okay, I have gone too far with this. I probably do need something more serious, whether it's Jira or something else. I just think it's usually not as early as Atlassian may have people think, and their official stances on it now.
And I think it's also this there's a constant balance, and Trello uses probably a too far one way of like to be successful with any tool that you use in business. There has to be this balance between the user and the business, and the user doesn't care about the business and vice versa. So I think Trello sides way too far with the user, and that's why people love it. But it doesn't offer the business the things that they need essentially to make the right business decisions. Jira is the other way around. It's very top down. It's very business oriented. It's data driven, but most of the people can't stand using it because it's really unuser friendly. So like somewhere in between, there's a happy medium, and I think, like as Britt said, that a more gradual crossover from Trello to Jira would be a really successful way of kind of leaning people into the other Atlassian tools, and that's what Atlassian want. They just haven't quite got that strategy right yet.
Yeah, well, it seems like they get that on some level with Jira lists, right? They're understanding that there may be a need for that crossover between the two. So, which I haven't played with at all. I know, Britt, you've played with it a lot more, but because my experience in Jira is this much, and at a company where we couldn't use Trello, so there was no way I wouldn't have been able to connect any of that anyway. So I'm gonna have to just play in a demo or something.
Well, we definitely, to that point, I think that is also something Atlassian sort of struggles with, and I don't feel like there's a lot of clear answers on. You'll see a lot of things in the community and people asking about the Atlassian admin sort of stuff. Trello doesn't fit nicely into that, and it's very confusing for a lot of enterprises who are like, okay, we have Jira and we want to use Trello, but it's kind of like this shadow IT concept that doesn't really fit in with all of these other things and ends up being a whole nightmare. We definitely had a couple people come up to the booth and talk about that, and I feel so bad being like, yeah, I know and can help zero there, but that's great feedback. The only thing I can say to that is I know the context is Trello was obviously an acquisition. They brought it in, and I have been a part of many conversations where there are various regrets about not trying to integrate Trello fully into the Atlassian suite sooner than later, and they're reaping a lot of pain from that. I know that is a fact, and I think this is one of the areas where it's just, it's like under the hood, it's just very different, so it doesn't naturally plug into a lot of these things, and so trying to make it do so is kind of painful, and they're working on it. But I think that's the biggest part that Atlassian is going to struggle with right now with trying to integrate Trello and Jira in these teams, is like they've got to figure out that Atlassian admin and the enterprise stuff, because multiple people came up mentioning that, like, oh, my team won't let us use it. And then we even had admins being like, yeah, we won't let them use it because we can't really like block them from doing this or that. Like we don't have enough control over it and like monitoring licenses and things.
Right. Which of course is why the users love it, because there's no control over it. So they can do whatever they want in it, which, know, so it absolutely goes both ways. And I, as an admin in the corporate world too, like I get it. It would be very difficult to manage a team of Trello users in that way, because you can help them with the workflows and whatnot and roll those out. But beyond that, that's about it. That's about all you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Any more questions, guys, in the comments? I haven't seen any. I mean, great ones from Alicia, but if you have any more.
Yeah, I also have a question for folks watching. Speaking of, we were talking about Jira lists, and this is kind of my personal mission for Katie Cogdill to get as much data as I can. She's one of the PMs at Trello, and we talked about the Jira list. It's basically saying, hey, I have things in this other tool. Create a list in Trello of those things. What are other tools that you folks would like to see in Trello lists, having those smart lists for? Like, could it be? We heard a lot about like Confluence and like Loom actions, like from after like a Loom meeting, the actions there. We heard that. We heard GitHub issues. I'd love to see GitHub issues. I think Notion could be a really cool one too. My team at work uses Notion. I'm curious, and Kelly, you too. I don't know if I've had a chance to ask you this question, but what kind of tools would you all love to see, like, smart list appear in Trello?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Teams, because I use that for, and I know there's integration. Like I get that there's some integration, but the integration actually seems to be primarily with the Teams part of Teams, if that makes sense. Yeah. And like, I'm just me, so I don't create a team within my Teams. I use it for meetings and things like that, and I transcribe just the way that all the Loom AI bot is doing. But I would love to be able to take that transcription and have it do more on Trello. Ooh, right now I'm doing a lot of copy pasting and, all of that, but I would love for it to be able to bring some of that stuff in. And I could also see, if there wasn't a more robust Rovo type thing in Trello, then I would love to see a more cohesive chat GPT connection in with Trello. If you do a chat and you get a bunch of ideas, I would love to be able to say, hey, take that and turn them into Trello cards, right?
Yeah.
Right now, all it does is like formats it to be copy pastable into Trello. And that's not really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm writing notes down as we speak. Rasmus,
Yeah.
if you're still here in the chat and you want to share about TacoBot, is that a thing TacoBot can do? Yeah, because I think TacoBot can create cards, right? Hopefully, yeah, we'll need Rasmus to speak more on this. I think he's in the chat here, but I know
I
he's
would
been
say
working
that
on something that's ChatGPT-esque with Trello. Yeah, go ahead,
Right.
Mike.
I'd say that in terms of what you're asking for, and they're definitely looking at all these avenues for capture for the inbox. So the idea of being able to do more, and it's good. They're never going to have a connection to ChatGPT. It's always going to be Atlassian intelligence.
Sure,
But they're
sure.
looking at
I'm
trying to
good with
create
that.
more connections. I was thinking of one the other day actually because quite often I take photos of stuff when I'm moving around, and I've actually got a make automation that can take a Trello card that I've captured with a photo and it process the image and describe it onto a Trello card. But I'd like them to do something similar to that for the inbox. Yeah, they've got all these ideas of how to capture these things. Going back to the Jira lists or the smart lists, I think would be the right way of calling them in Trello. I think Confluence is probably the next natural progression. I think that will happen. The one that excites me most is the idea of being able to grab looms and have those in a list. And that also seems like it's achievable given the fact that it's Atlassian's product.
Yeah. Any others? Like, I definitely think the Atlassian products I think are going to make the most sense for sure.
Sure.
I think, yeah, and I see Alicia mentioned Trello and Jira at the same time. I can't use Jira to complement something from a Trello project. I agree. Like, I don't think we're going to see Trello listed Jira, and I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. One thing that I was kind of thinking too, along the lines of what you said, Kelly, with Team, I know Slack, there's like obviously the new integration or with the new Trello, you can like bookmark a message and it sends it to your inbox. I don't use Slack's features for like project management, but I know they do have some like to-do sort of things. Does Teams have something similar where you almost have like a planner or like a team sort of like, here are like things that like, I think Slack actually has a Kanban board style too, but like maybe something where it's not just like me manually tagging messages, but like anything that I'm like assigned to in Slack or something.
Teams
like
has
Teams have
Microsoft
that.
Planner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Teams has a planner. It's trying to be like if Trello is supposed to be Jira Lite, Planner is Trello Lite. Like
Okay.
It's not very. I mean, maybe
Mike
this
has
is
not
just
given it good reviews.
yeah. This might be my obvious bias, but I tried to use Planner because that was the tool we were given corporately, and I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't do it, even with all the power actions and things like that. It didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that maybe Atlassian aren't so good at compared to the other tools out there, if you go to Monday or ClickUp, like there's always the ability to grab and import things from Trello into those tools, which means it's really easy for people to move over. But with these lists, they actually could use these lists to be like a way of, say, someone wants to grab some stuff in ClickUp. And put it into a Trello board, like a way of trying to angle people towards Trello. And I don't think that they've ever done a great deal of that to kind of encourage people to move from another tool to Trello. And these lists could be a way of doing that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because it is kind of a rebuild, which is daunting for some people if they've built a whole lot of stuff out in another tool. Another thing that, and this isn't so much smart lists, I guess, but another thing that comes to my mind when you say that is like, again, it comes back to the admin capability of having true template boards. Like I recognize that you can make a template board and it can do all these great things, but when you make a board from the template, all your automations stop working. And so then you have to go back in, and so then you're forced to just copy a board, and it's just not as, it could be better, right? As far as like a rollout, if you're trying to onboard a new team member or something like that.
So it's funny you mentioned that. I mentioned this this was a question that came up in the feedback that I asked for the Trello team. They are exploring the idea of preceding boards with specific I don't know if any of us remember when we got our first welcome board to Trello when we joined. But basically the idea of you sign up and you get like some pre-seated automations on there that you can kind of see how they work, and you don't have to build them, and it's just like they're there. So it could be like when you complete a card, it moves it to done or something like that. Or, you know, they're trying to figure out what those common things would be like when you're assigning people to cards or whatnot. So would they do that though? I think setting up that technology is going to give us the option to, like, that's going to be a new data object I think that we can access, is that like build like preceded automations of like, you know, it's just a property now on a board of like these things, which would be so fantastic for, you know, moving those automations over. Speaking though of Rasmus again, Rasmus has made a really cool tool. I haven't used it yet. I'm just waiting until I get a client, or actually I should just have a template board that I do this with that says, oh, thank you, Crystal. Thank you for joining. I met Crystal at team. That was very fun to have you. Have you here to meet you and to have you. Okay. Anyways, yeah, Rasmus made a very cool thing where you can export your rules from one board and import them to another. And I'm planning to use it next time I need to do that with a client, but it would be a good use case for templates as well, because that's the toughest part. Like the three of us in this room and Rasmus are the ones, and Alicia are obsessed with building Trello automations. Maybe some more of you watching are too, but like shockingly, we are in the minority of Trello users, and most people just want the automations on their board. They don't want to build them. They don't have fun doing what Mike and I do on Friday nights and just explore new things that have appeared in the automations or whatever. And so, yeah, so I'm excited for some of that too.
Yeah, no, you're right, because the when you're in the same account, you can go in and simply enable, and that's not so bad. But if you're trying to hand off those automations,
yes,
you know, like any board that I have that's a template has to have a list. The first list is always how to set up this board. I have to show you how to create the buttons and how to do the, you know, and it's like, that's great because my philosophy is, you know, empower the user to be able to do those things. But at the same time, if they felt comfortable doing it out of the gate, they would have done it on their own. Following the video is not necessarily their desire at the beginning. So yeah, I'm totally down for that. I upvote that idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I see a bunch of people are starting to need a drop. I think this is like, you know, work
this
is starting.
Yes. the day is kicking off. Things are getting real. Everyone's getting summoned into meetings and things like that.
Yep. I get it. Well, thanks guys for jumping on here. You've helped me feel a little bit more like I was there, especially with the pictures, because I love seeing the board and all of that. Next time I will be there, and I will be just as annoyingly excited.
Did you see they announced the dates?
No.
Yes. Okay. So that's a good announcement to end on. They announced the dates, May 5th through 7th, and it's in Anaheim again. So yeah.
Did you say May?
May, yes, May 5th through 7th. Is that going to work better for you?
Yeah.
No birthdays, yay!
No birthdays,
yes. Birthday's on the 4th, actually.
Everybody's like, some birthdays.
Okay, so we have a year to get it all figured out and planned.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, and we've got lots to learn from this time. So I think if we managed to get some specific Trello stuff going on, I think we learned a lot from what we've done, and it'll be loads better. And I'm not ruling out the possibility that between now and then we may be able to do another specific Trello event, perhaps in the US.
Oh yeah, I think we would absolutely love to. Which also reminds me, before we go, I need to remind everyone about the contest. Erica is going to actually pick a winner, but there is a contest that you can enter. So putting a pin in that before we actually hang up. But yes, carry on, Mike, about TrelloCon, because if you want to explain, we enjoyed TrelloCon and may want to do one again. Like I'm telling you,
so TrelloCon was really good. It was it was two different types of audience, the sort of online kind of power users and fellow geeks. Versus like a room of people who knew what Trello was, but like they weren't so familiar. So we were trying to sort of balance that and technical issues. But the venue was amazing. I had some really great conversations with the people who did come, and there was quite a lot of buzz around Trello and quite a lot of interest. I think that we could have got a lot more people had it been closer to the venue, because there was a lot of people I talked to at the conference who would have wanted to come. But yeah, I think it did prove that we can do a bigger and better event in the future.
Yeah. I'm posting a link in the chat, I'm posting in the private chat, Kelly. I think you may need to post it because YouTube doesn't let the non-host post links in the comments. Okay. But basically, yeah, there is a contest where we're going to give away, like, Trello's giving away some very fun swag and different Atlassian branded stuff, like very nice stuff. Like, I think a backpack's one of the things. All you have to do to enter is submit screenshots of your boards showing off how you're using the new features. So yeah, so and we'll, if you're registered for Trello Trailblazers, I'll send a recap after this event reminding you to sign up for it. I think we probably want to have people submit probably by the end of the day, because we keep delaying when we're going to do this and we really need to just do it. So but yeah. And yeah, to Alicia's question, May, the next team and next year's Team USA, there's still the one in Barcelona. I probably will not make it to that, but I'm probably not going to make it to that one, unfortunately. I have so much going on in October, and I'm also like in the process of moving into my camper and doing all sorts of things. I would love to, trust me, one year I will very much try, but I don't think this is going to be the year I can do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of 60-40 in sort of against going right now, just because it's not going to time well. I don't know where I'm going to be, but I'll see if I can make it work. I will. But yeah, it'd be good to carry on the momentum, because yeah, it felt like a changing point for Trello. This team, I think
It did.
It felt like Trello's now got its place. It's got its identity. People get it. That was part of the problem. People didn't know what Trello was and where it fit, but now I think it's very clear, and it feels like there's a kind of shift that we should kind of be riding the wave while it's high.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, and to Mike's point, I feel like I'm in circles again, but to Mike's point about doing Trello events throughout the year, please post in the chat where you'd like us to do them. I love to travel. Mike loves to travel. I don't like the international stuff is going to be kind of tough. We may have to split up, and Mike handles one area and I try to handle US stuff, but we'd love to do more of them. And I'm planning to move closer to, so I'm going to be in Richmond, Virginia when I move in August, which puts me a lot closer to DC, a lot easier to get to New York. So things like that. So I definitely would like to do some more events. And, maybe Boise, we get up there and do some fun events up there.
I think that from speaking to people in the Atlassian community, I think there's also, now that Trello has a bit more of an identity, it's much easier to sell the option to add Trello as something to speak about at community events. So I think we can also jump on some of the chapters that existed, particularly in the US, and see if they want to talk Trello at one of their events, and one of us can be available. Since we last spoke, by the way, I'm heading west again in a few weeks, so I actually will be close enough to the US if there was another event that I could probably come.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to close us out here. If you're catching the replay, still drop your questions in the chat. We can come back and, address them, answer them, and all that good stuff. And definitely, I didn't see you put any kind of link in yet, Britt. So I
put it in the private chat. Can you see the private chat on StreamYard?
Oh, I'm not sure I can, but I will come back. I will make sure to come back. We'll get it. We'll get it in the chat here, and I'll pin it on the YouTube so that you guys can find it later and go check it out. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
See ya. Bye.